All right, guys, it's that time again. This is another Camaro project we're doing. Same customer. He loved the other car so much. So he decided to have us do some work to this one as well. We're not going near as far and extensive as we did with the other one, but let's just go over it real quick. So this is a 67 Camaro SS car with a 396 big block and a turbo 400 transmission. So we're ditching the Holley double pumper, affordable fuel injection kit. So it's going to be Chevy TBI, like off the 90s trucks. So it'll be much simpler than the TBI or than the Sniper. This motor isn't built for 1,000,000 horsepower. It don't need the fuel pressure and stuff that the 383 and the other car did. But we're doing that, and then we're also doing the T5, same trans that we did in the other Camaro. That's pretty much it. It's very similar to what we did in the other one, besides swapping the motor and everything. We're going to do a hydraulic clutch setup in this car rather than the mechanical linkage. But this car, it's a beautiful car. It's a pretty red color. I believe it's a 67, don't kill me, but it's got both mirrors. Okay, we're going to start pulling the Camaro apart. I already pulled the carb off last week. We're going to pull the trans first, and then we're going to roll it forward and figure out our pedal, because we got to put a clutch pedal in, and then we got to mount the master cylinder, and then we can put the flywheel and the bell housing on. At least that's what we did with the other car. We put the bell housing in, and then we stab the tranny. So hopefully it's the same. Okay, I just pulled the starter, and then the turbo 400s have a shield that goes right here. Makes your torque converter bolts really easy. Luckily, this already had a gear reductive starter in it, because if you know the big block, the old big block Chevy starters are weigh like 1,000,000 pounds. So I'm gonna pull the drive line, and then we can figure out the trans mount, and then I'll pull the torque converter bolts, get all of our lines undone, and then we can drop it out and then see where everything's kind of gonna line up. Okay, I pulled the drive line, so we're actually gonna cut the exhaust. So we're gonna unbolt it up here at the headers, and then we're gonna cut it right here at the muffler so that we have more room to get transmissions in and out. And because on the other car, the new tranny cross member is kind of a pain to get in. It's not that bad. It sits between the frame, because these technically are like a cradle. It sits between the body and this cradle, and it's kind of dumb, and the exhaust is definitely in the way, so we're gonna just get it out of our way. But I got the speed cable out, I got the reverse light unplugged, I took the vacuum modulator off. So all I got left is the tranny mount and the torque converter bolts and the exhaust, and then we can get the old tranny out. And then we're gonna roll it forward to be able to get in it. And then we're gonna put the clutch pedal. Hopefully we're gonna install the clutch pedal and maybe the gas pedal. Probably, hopefully, I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so that ended up being a little more difficult than I thought. But, so basically, on the kit we got the Malwood underdash hydraulic clutch kit. But basically, you got to drop the steering column. It would probably be easier if you just pull the whole thing out, but you don't need to, because you got to take this bracket out and cut it a little bit so that you can install, because it's got a new clutch pedal and brake pedal, but it's just so much easier if you can just take it out. They say you can cut it in there within the car, but we didn't want to do that. I'm still debating whether or not I should take the column all the way out, because then I have to undo the rag joint outside. But it dropped enough out of the way. Only thing you gotta unplug is the main harness to the steering wheel, the speed cable to the back of the gauge cluster. You gotta take the gauge cluster out. And then, well, I guess you really don't need to, but it just makes it easier. And then the speed cable, and then the brake switch right here. But let's get the bracket cut, and then we'll show you what it looks like all assembled. Okay, I forgot to update you guys yesterday, but I actually had to drop the fuel tank in this because we needed a return line. And so from the gray Camaro, we put a new tank in it before we did any of the swap, because it needed a new tank. Well, come to find out, this one did not have a return line on the old tank, so we still had the old tank from the gray Camaro, so we swapped it into this with the new sending unit that has a return line on it. So that's good. So we're gonna have to run a new fuel line, just a return line up here. Okay, so I'm underneath the car right now. We're gonna go ahead and pull off the flex plate, and then we're gonna start figuring out our trans situation where it's gonna line up. So we're gonna have to cut a hole in the floor. This may just be an optical illusion, but I feel like this car has more room in the tunnel, maybe because the tunnels for the 400 had to be bigger than a Muncie, like the other car. But pull the flex plate off. We're gonna find our flywheel and our bell housing and our clutch and start to see where that lines up, because then we can stab the trans, put our tranny mount in, put the drive line in, because we're gonna do all the drivetrain stuff before we start putting the fuel injection in, because there's a bunch of wires and stuff we're gonna have to redo. So we're gonna do all the stuff we can do, the easier stuff now, which putting this trans in should honestly be the easiest part. I mean, easier than the clutch pedal was and all that. But we got the pilot bearing in, and yeah, should be good. Okay, it's the next day. We ended up putting the flywheel on the clutch and the pressure plate on, and then last night before we left, we were trying to figure out our throwout bearing, because we got the American Powertrain, the Hydromax throwout bearing, and we gotta measure. So you have to measure from where this rides to the face of the tranny, and then from the face of the plate to the top of the fingers on the pressure plate, and you're supposed to shim it and take some measurements and all that. But we were just figuring that out last night before we left. But I think we got it. We're going to call American Powertrain just to make sure that we're doing this right. And then after that, we got to put the stud right here so it can't spin. And then this will go out where your clutch fork would be. And then this is where the line attaches. This is your bleeder valve. So then we can stab it in, because we got the bell housing and the flywheel torqued. Flywheel and clutch are torqued, so we can get in there. And then after that, it's really pretty simple. Put the new tranny mount in, and then we already have we bought a drive shaft for this swap, so that's really nice. We don't have to deal with any of that. And then after that, we can reconnect the exhaust, weld it, and then we can start with all the fuel injection stuff, because we're gonna have to run a return line from the tank up to the TBI, and then wire the TBI in, which shouldn't be too bad. But hopefully today the tranny will be in. We still gotta cut the floor too, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, we talked to the guys at American Powertrain, and we were right. We don't need a shim with this setup we got, because I don't know. It varies, because obviously your bell housing, your transmission, which clutch and flex plate you run. But we should be good. We're right in the spec range, because they want a 1 to 200 thousandths gap, and we're right at 125, so we should be fine. So we're gonna get the tranny over there and then get it up and start figuring out where our hole is gonna have to go. And then once we do that, we can cut a hole, start feeding it in, attach our clutch cable, or our clutch line, and then feed it all together, and then we can finish everything else from there. Okay, we got the trans in. So we had to finish bolting up the bell housing. I didn't show you guys before, but there's almost dimples or rivet, like they're divots pretty much. I'm assuming this is where the Muncie transmission shifters came out. And also, I don't know if this is an SS car thing or if this is a automatic to manual car thing, but the trans tunnel in this car is way bigger and has way more room than the other car did, because we fought getting that other tranny and bell housing in for probably 1 to 2 hours trying to get it in, but this one went right in pretty much. We didn't really fight it. We had to slide the throwout bearing on our stud and feed it all in as one, because it'd be almost impossible to tighten the line to it if you left it on the tranny and then fed it in without taking it all the way out at the pedal. But it's in now. So we drilled in the middle of all these dimples, and then we did a 3-inch hole saw. We might have to move it a little bit, but our shift boot is like, it's like 6 by 4 inches, so it'll cover the hole plenty. It'll look fine. But I need to jack it up and then put our American Powertrain transmission cross member in, and then the driveline can go in, and then that's pretty much all it for the powertrain. We're gonna have to figure out how to bleed the clutch and all that, and then we can start putting the fuel injection on probably next week, 'cause it's Friday night, so we'll see how far we end up tonight. It's Monday the next week. So we got the training mount in. I don't know why we kind of had brain farm with overcomplicating this, but this is the American Powertrain cross member, same one we use. So you slide these brackets in, and you got to drop the bolts from the top, leave them loose, and then you can slide this, or put the training mount on, slide this in between them, and then you got like nut certs in this bracket. So you put that in, and then you got to start the lower bolts. But other than that, we should be good. Lower the car, and we're gonna see if it's got enough throw or not. But if not, we'll have to cut that out a little bit. Okay, sorry if the background is loud or the heater's running. It's next Monday. Christmas just happened. Merry Christmas. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. But we moved the car over here to this lift because we finally have this lift. But I'm running the fuel lines now, so we ended up cutting part of the factory line. We put our pump and our filter in, all nice. And then we ran the return line, but I need to make the jumper hose from here to the tank. We ran it down here, ran it through this, because this car, I don't know if this is an option, has a almost like a drag link type thing, but I put some rubber hose over it so it'll never rub through that. And then we're just going along and we follow the factory fuel line, and then it comes out right there, and then we can run it up to the throttle body. But I'm just about done down here, and then we can set, we're gonna have to change the U-joint on our driveline, because I don't know, this is a different yoke or what, but it's not the right U-joint. So we got to do that, and then we can go up and start wiring the TBI in, and we're gonna have to figure out, probably put the bung for the O2 right here. So I haven't showed you guys up here yet, but we got the throttle body on. It's mostly wired up as far as that part. It's really simple. The harness they make is really nice. So this has big block injectors in it. You can do big or small block injectors. They really can customize the harness and the kit however you want, pretty much. We didn't have a coolant port here, nor on the intake left, so we actually found this thermostat housing that gives you two options. You can put a coolant temp sensor in it. Show you where we mounted the PCM. There's not really a good spot anywhere under the hood of this thing, unless we want to relocate it to the back, but then you have to get the harness lengthened and all that. So we ended up mounting it right there in the fender. It's got some strong Velcro. It barely moves at all. It'll flow nice right here with all the other harness and heater hoses and such. So we got two relays we got to mount, and our OBD plug, because you technically get an OBD1 plug with this kit. Our coil's mounted right there in the firewall. Our ignition module is mounted right there. We're timed already. We just need spark plug wires, and then we just got to do the distributor wires. We got to hook them up into what will work on the car. Need a switch ignition power for the distributor. It needs 12 volt with run and crank, so that it'll turn the fuel pump relay on. But other than that, we're pretty much just down to a checklist at this point, which we can cross a lot of stuff off. Got to build the throttle pedal, or the throttle cable. We're gonna have to figure out a clutch stop, shifter boot, and just stuff like that. Fix a few wires. We got the exhaust back on, got the driveline in. We're gonna have to weld in an O2 bung on the long tube header. But other than that, we're getting pretty close. We rebuilt our battery cables because they were all kind of shitty looking. We got our wires ran for the fuel injection. Everything's plugged in up there. Throttle cable's built. We're gonna start bleeding the clutch now. We unfortunately didn't get our spark plug wires in yet. We got the O2 sensor bung welded in and that put in. Vacuum line. So pretty much all we need is our distributor plug needs to be wired in, and then spark plug wires, and we We fixed the wires, some of the wires that were all messed up too. We should be able to start it hopefully Monday because we won't have the spark plug wires till then, but we're really close. Our checklist is really dwindled down. I want to pick the car up right now and open the bleeder and see if we can get the clutch to bleed. They say with this Hydromax, the American powertrain, this throw bearing, they say you're supposed to have a clutch pedal stop, but right here in the instructions it says you do not need a pedal stop if you're using the Malwood under dash kit, which that's what we were using. So we don't have to set up a clutch stop or anything. That would have been a pain, especially with this car not being a manual before. But I'm gonna pick it up and see if I can get the clutch to bleed. Okay, finally got the plug wires. We put them on. We figured out our air cleaner. So just a few small things. We bled the clutch. It ended up working just great. Basically now, just gonna do a nut and bolt check. Look everything over one more time. We need to put fuel in it. And it should be able to fire. About really last thing I do is just small stuff and mount the OBD1 plug. All right, we should be completely done. We have a few mishaps, but we should be completely done. We got the new air cleaner on. Got the shift boot in, the nice Hearst shifter. Is it Hearst? Or sorry, it's American Powertrain. But the boot looks real nice. You would never even know that this wasn't a manual car. Pedals are perfect. Everything's perfect. So we'll go ahead and start it. And we're gonna pull it out and let it run because it just needs to run for a minute.
Go ahead and start it up, bud.
Man.
Rev it up.
All right, guys, and just like that, we're completely done. Took the car on test drive. It did great. Looks great. If there's one thing I would change these valve covers because they're super tall. But other than that, the car did great. Trans felt amazing. Clutch felt great. Clutch pedal did good. It runs good. I wouldn't dare say it's got as much power as the silver car we built, which you shouldn't expect it to. I mean, this is an old, we don't even know what's done in this. It's just, as far as we know, it's a roller, rocker, 396 big block. We don't know the heads. We don't know the compression ratio. We don't know if it's even is a true 396 at this point. But it did good. This car must have a different rear end in it too because the gearing feels a little different versus the other car. But it did great. Whole interior looks good. Gauges work that we need to work. Speedo works because we have a mechanical speedo. And she's all washed up. Hopefully the customer loves this one just as much as the other one. Thanks for watching.